All right, welcome back to episode 5 of Day Traders Off the Record. This is a podcast hosted by myself and my good friend, My Daily Gains. And today we have a very highly anticipated guest. We have Libra Ned from the TradeBuddy community. He is a big time short seller. He's been killing it in this past year. He had like a 2-week period where he made over 35 grand in just those 2 weeks trading in the first hour and a half of the day. So he definitely knows what he's doing. He is based out of Miami, but now he's traveling the world using those trader profits. And he is now taking some time with us to answer some basic questions and help some of you hopefully, hit that next time in your trading career. So with that being said, welcome Libra Ned, and how you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it, and I'm really happy to be here to share the knowledge, to be in the community, and it's been fun. It's been a great journey. Lots of up and down. You know how it is in trading.
Yep, yep.
So I'm really happy to be here with you guys. Hopefully, we can help some people get to the next level.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Now I know that you must be pretty excited to meet him finally now, right? Like My Daily Gains, because you both are short sellers, obviously. I hate you both, but I love you both. So we're looking forward to talking about some trading. But first, let's start with a basic, introduction. How did you get started with the trading? How was that journey for you?
Definitely. Yeah. So trading for me, it's been something that's always kind of like a little light here and there throughout my whole life. Basically, I've had some friends that was already into trading, and basically they're always trying to get me involved in the trading, and I just never saw it. I was just a brick and mortar type guy. I've always done my own business and stuff, but I've always been a brick and mortar type business guy. So I've always been geared towards doing that, and you know, but it's always something that I've always been interested in. It's something that it always piqued my interest. Whenever I see something about trading, it's always piqued my interest. I wanted to find out a little bit more. So it's not until a few years ago that my current business, and I just got tired of it. I've been doing my current business that I was doing, importing and exporting, for almost 10 years. And I kind of got tired of the routine and doing the same type of thing. So I wanted to, okay, let me do something that is a little bit more challenging mentally, and so on and so forth. So then I started taking a really good look at trading at 2019, around 2009, 3 years, a few years back. And from there, I got hooked right away on the informations, on the challenges that was there. And I was like, this is something I wanted to be doing. Now, it got really serious after I really started losing money. you know?
As with most people,
When
yeah.
Absolutely. When I started losing money, I was like, you know what? This stuff gotta work.
Like you have to make it work
So
now, right? You already lost so much.
absolutely, I'm all in. So like about 6 months into it, man, I just kept losing money months after months, blowing up account after account after account. So I was like, okay, I definitely don't know what I'm doing. So I needed to find information. So I went online trying to look for information, and YouTube, everything. And I ran into the Trading Buddy community. It was really interesting for me because it was not about hype. It was not about hype, which I was very keen, because I always think information doesn't have to hype itself. If it's good, it's gonna be, it's gonna be what it is. So I looked into it, and I loved the approach of, the very, very simple approach of way of trading, and it makes sense to me. It made sense. So I was like, you know what? Let me dip into this, and I paid my fees and tried to get into it, and started learning and learning. I went through literally the entire video library.
Damn, that's crazy. That's like 4 years of
Absolutely. So I
lessons.
went and
That's
studied
awesome.
everything that I could. Yeah, yeah. So I got my hands into it, and I would say, man, it took me almost a year after to really started turning the wheel, and I never looked back, and it's a continuous journey, and looking forward to further, going up further.
That's
So
awesome.
it's been
So
incredible.
yeah, man, that's a crazy Crazy introduction. So how old are you now? And when did you start trading? You said 2 years ago, 2019? 3 years ago, I
Yeah,
guess.
so I'm 35. So I'm
35.
35. So I started, yeah, end of 22s, 23s or so on. So yeah, so now I'm 35 years old, and I'm in my prime. I'm really energetic, and I'm looking to take things to the next level. As far as my career and everything. So, um, what was really interesting is that I found like some of the goals that I wanted to reach in my regular business, and I found like trading made that opportunity available very, very easily. Lots of risk. You have to be very, very careful, but it gives you the opportunity to make your dream, come reality. So it's really incredible at 35 years old, and I'm able to do that. I wish I could have done it 10 years ago, like when I had a chance, So
Better
Yeah, I
late
hear
than
that.
never,
I
though,
hear
right?
that.
you know what?
I don't think
Absolutely, we're here.
I don't think age, like the age that you get started, obviously the sooner the better, the younger the better, but it's one of those things that once you develop that skill set and once you really find your niche and you find your discipline, it's amazing to think that, hey, you could be doing this for the next 10, 15, 20
I'll be
years. And
trading when I'm 70. Are you kidding
yeah,
me?
there you go.
It's exciting, no?
Cool. So when you started out, you said you were losing consistently for the first 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So when you started off, did you just jump into it, just open a brokerage account and just start going, or did you get some lessons first, or did you just use YouTube? What was your
Okay,
initial
so
approach
like
to it?
early to mid 2019. So what I did was I was just gathering information.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just grabbing information and trying to understand the concepts of trading and how how to get in, how to get out, how to start things. So I was just grabbing and trying to make sense of the whole trading situation. So I would say it took me around 3 months of just information, just chopping down information, just trying to get it. And then after that, then I opened up the brokerage account, and then I started placing my first trade. And then from there, it was little. I wanted to keep it small, 100 shares, no more than 100 shares. And then I was doing really low cap, low cap trading, really low, so that my risk would not be anything more than $25 or $50. So I really took it slow.
That's a
And
good approach
I
in the
did
beginning
that.
for a new trader, though. That's pretty smart. To have
Absolutely.
that knowledge of, okay, I can't go too crazy right away. So at least you did that.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that, and when I started feeling like, okay, like, I'm starting to understand a little bit of what's going on, then I increased it a little bit. But then it was kind of like, man, I kept losing. But I knew like, I could get it. This is something I can get. It's just something I'm missing. I'm missing some kind of key information. And I remember my first account that I blew, it was like 1500. And then I went long I don't know, I can't remember what ticker it was, but I went long on it. And it just kept dropping. It kept dropping, kept dropping. And then, as you know, like we get really stubborn. Like, yeah, this is gonna turn around, and it's not turning around. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna
Bag holder quotes.
Yeah, man, just holding and praying that it's not gonna happen. But then it just keep dropping, keep dropping, keep dropping. And I was like, well, I'm already almost pretty much all in, so I'm just gonna let it go.
Might as well hold forever, right? It's a long-term play now. I like the company.
Like my broker just took me out. Like, yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
The old
blew
margin
up
call.
my first account, man. It was horrible. I felt like, man, what's going on? Horrible. So I was like, okay, let me take a couple of days break, and then I'm gonna try again. So I tried again, ramped up another $1,500, $2,000 account, and I think it was 2 weeks later, I lost it again.
Was it also on the long side, or was it also on the long side?
Yeah, I was just going long the whole time. It was like
I think I see where your journey's heading.
Yeah, I guess it was not, it was not made for me. When I started making a little bit of money, when I started going short, I was like, wait a minute. I'm just noticing like these things are just gapping up and then it was just crashing. So like, why don't I just play short? So
Yeah.
that's what mentality got into the shorting thing. It was like, wait, these things are always crashing. For some reason, they're always crashing, you know? I'm just in the wrong side all the time, you know?
I think a lot of people get in. Yeah. So there's so many traders that, they lose money on the long side. So they say, hey, let me go and try and short everything. And they don't realize that it's a lot harder than it looks. So it's, for a guy like Ned to make it to the other side and is now a profitable trader, he's definitely put in the time and to find his discipline. So it's nice to see.
Definitely.
So you said that you finally discovered short selling and you started dabbling with that. Was that like the instant switch that made you profitable? Or
no,
how
it
was that
not.
journey? Okay, right. Yeah. I can imagine there are probably some big losses
I was
from
blowing up accounts as well.
Okay, yeah.
Man, it was like, okay, you know what? These things are crashing all the time. So let me get into shorting. So then I started getting into shorting. What I was doing was like, I had no strategy really. What I kept noticing, I created a whole bunch of notes, Excel notes of tickers. And what I was looking at it, I was like, okay, from the first morning, the morning gap ups or the morning fade, what's the I wanted a percentage of how often if it started up running, how often is it going to keep running, or if it started off. So I started trying to calculate these things. So my little strategy that I created was like, okay, so like right in the morning, I'm gonna watch the first couple of bars and then see what happened. And then if it started clipping down, I'm just gonna ride the wave down real quick. 2 to 3 minutes, grab what I can, and then boom, get out. Well, it worked a couple of times here and there, and then next thing you know, it would bounce and then zoom, just take me out right away, or just lose a bunch of money. I have to run, So it's
Short
like,
trap.
okay, man. Yeah, so
That's
I
cool
kept
though.
blowing up, and I think I started blowing up the biggest accounts in shorting,
Oh,
So
of course,
I
yeah.
started blowing up $3,000 accounts. So it's like, oh man, yeah, it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. Then I was like, you know what? Okay, so I definitely want to short because I feel more, I feel more like this is me. I know like it clicks, but I couldn't figure out the right strategy. So I was like, I need information. I need more information. I need to know people who already know the short end of the game and then try to learn, what's the strategy that they're using. So this is how I ended up finding information, and I started to look at my daily gains, and then I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. He's really. I mean, I don't even know when he lose. I mean,
It's rare. It happens, but
he's
it's rare.
in, he's out, he's accurate. I was like, wow, I got it. So I'm just gonna learn all I can. So I just dipped in and started to learn everything. I went and studied the entire library that he has, and then over and over and over again. I think I did that maybe 3 or 4 times. So finally I was like, okay, the strategy is simple. All this time is really simple. So then I got the strategy. Now the biggest part was now the discipline. So, and then I had to work on the discipline part. So, and then at the end of it all, I was like, wow, this stuff is really simple. You can really learn to trade in less than 30 days. The problem is going to be like the discipline that you're going to require to know when to stop, to know when to not play, to know when to just let things run. This is going to be, for me, at least for me, that was the biggest part of the game for me, because man, I just wanted to get in and I know it was not the right time, or I would just cut it off too soon and I know it wasn't the right time, or I would just hold it on too long and I knew I'm just being stubborn, So it was like the discipline part, which was the biggest piece of the puzzle for me, because now I had to face myself. It was not, it had nothing to do with strategy. It had nothing to do, because I got the strategy. I've been studying my daily game. So now it's like, how do I get the discipline to cut it just like what he would cut it? So I was like, that was the biggest piece for me. The discipline to like cut things loose whenever, whenever it is going against you, and to know your max loss, which was very, very important, because like that would change the whole game for me. That would change the whole game for me. When I started getting down, what is it that I'm willing to lose, and to cut it whenever it reached that level. So cut the trading, sit down and just watch things, just let things go. This was the biggest piece for me. After I gotten that done, everything started making, because I knew the strategy. The strategy was there. It was just the discipline, right? So
Yeah.
that's
And when you're and when you're blowing like 3K accounts and stuff like that, I'm guessing like you just don't have a max daily loss set at the brokerage
right.
firm. So you let the
Oh,
position go
no.
against you, and a dollar or two,
Right.
$3 higher, and then boom, the account's gone
Yep.
just like that. So
Now,
Very-
like you did say something that was very interesting that I picked up on. Like you said that like one of the beginning points for you to like start to understand just the basic strategy was you started tracking things, right? And that is
right.
such an important thing that people kind of don't have the drive to do by themselves because it takes work. Like no one likes messing with Excel spreadsheets. It's boring as
Right.
hell, but like you have to have some data that tells you how things act on average, and you can
Right.
start looking at that like to use like to make a strategy. So that's a very important thing that I want to point out that you said.
Absolutely.
And also,
Absolutely.
like he said, one of the most confusing things that people deal with is a discipline, because like you said, you can learn how to trade a stock in 30 days. Like
Mhm.
it's so brain dead simple what the strategy actually
Yeah.
is. Just look for the
Yeah.
stock, find an entry, find an exit, make a plan, blah blah blah. But the
Yeah.
hard part is doing what you know you need to do when you need to do it, right? That's the part
Absolutely.
where like you don't want to take
Absolutely.
the loss. You want to hold and hope, see if it'll come back. It's just trying to stop me out. The market's out to get me. Like all these things that your brain tells you, it's a real damn thing, right? It actually happens. Like it's so
Absolutely.
weird, but when there's money on the line, your brain will lie to you till the end of the earth, and you have to learn how to
it's the
break that.
and it's the algo's fault, right? It's
Yeah,
always the
exactly.
algo's
Yeah,
fault.
it's the damn manipulators out to get me. It's like end of the day, trading is about
Absolutely,
yourself,
man.
right? It's
It's
all about
crazy.
yourself in
Yeah.
the end. So
Absolutely.
so
It's funny. It's funny. It's funny. You have time that you would think like, man, I think somebody's watching me, because like every time I
yes,
put it
yes,
in,
yes,
it's like,
They're
dude.
watching
it
you and
goes against
thousands
me
of
right
others, I
away.
guess.
Like, what's going on?
Dude, 100%. Every single trader has said they're watching me.
Mhm.
Like right when I sell, it shoots up. Every trader has said that. Like
It's
100%.
Oh
I've said
man,
it too.
something I picked up on what Ned said before is that he was doing other businesses for like over a decade, and I think he wanted a new challenge, and the challenge that came along with trading is that mental battle where it's him
yeah,
versus himself. Whereas in business you deal with all kinds of other challenges
yeah,
and issues, but
yeah.
in trading you really get to know like who you are more so than ever.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I would say it's probably the one business where you really can't get successful unless you conquer your whatever particular weakness is, and you're going to find out. Trading is going to expose you to your weakness. You're going to find
Oh
out
yeah.
very, very quickly. Like, yeah, I'm horrible. And I'm extremely stubborn. I don't want to cut my loss. You're gonna find out what your problem is, and it's interesting because you would never get past your losses or whatever trying to get profitable unless you start conquering that problem. So it's like trading is it's extremely psychological.
Yeah.
It's extremely yeah, yeah. It's the biggest challenge that I've ever faced in my life, and I've done some really complicated businesses. And I would
Mm-hmm.
say it's the most complicated business that I've ever done because it had to do with me. Everything had to do with me. It was like, if I win today, it's gonna be me. If I lose today, it's gonna be me. If I don't have any money left, it's gonna be me.
It's gonna be on you,
So
yeah. I think people underestimate this before getting into trading. Like, yeah, they hear people talk about it on YouTube videos. It's mental, it's this, it's that. But until you actually go through it yourself, it's really something, really something.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So now that it's fairly evident that one of your biggest hurdles was conquering that discipline, what are some like important moments in your trading, or just like times where you weren't able to conquer that discipline and you like realized, okay, like this is a very important thing that I need to solve? Like how was that
Okay,
for you?
Okay, so for me, it was like this, right? So when I started getting the strategies, and I knew I got it because um I would have a lot of green days. Like my greens would be off the chart. I would go on half a month without losing anything, and I would just have one loss and then just wipe all my gains. So I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I can go on a whole month and just lose twice, and then I would just go back to square one. So I was like, man, something is going on. Obviously, I know what I'm doing because I keep getting greens all the time. So it's just, what is going on? What then it was like, okay, there's those losing days, which is going to come. This is how it is. You have to lose and trade. And it was just, I couldn't accept that. I couldn't accept losing. So I was like, I could just do it. I could just do it. I can see this. I know I'm gonna get my money back, which is totally wrong. When it goes against you, man, you gotta cut it. It's no conspiracy. There's nobody conspiring against you. So this is when I was like, okay, you know what? That's the discipline I need to work on. This is what I need to work on. And then for myself, it was tough dealing with it personally. So what I did was I started creating mechanism in order to keep me out of the trading if it goes against me. So what I started doing is I started finding out about the broker max day loss. So I jumped on that right away. The moment that I jumped on that right away, I started seeing a difference. The moment I started doing that, I started seeing a difference. I told my broker, okay, if I hit X amount, shut my account down. I'm not able to trade. So the moment I started doing that, Mike, I started going. Okay, now I was breaking even. So now I was like, okay, this stuff is working. Now again, this is when your self come back again. Your self come back to conquer you. Or it's like trading is gonna conquer you. You can't run away from it. You can't cheat the code. You can't cheat the system. So I was like, okay, this is working. This is working. Then myself started getting too smart. So I was like, you know what? I just lost. Okay, my max loss I just hit my max loss. But you know what? I know I could do this. I know I can turn this thing around. So I would call my broker, hey, you might cancel my day.
Oh no. Oh no. They're like, are you sure about this?
I have a tip for that, by the way. After your story,
so,
I'll tell you.
I started doing. I was like, okay, let me call my broker and cancel it. Hey, can you reactivate my account for the day? And it was like, okay. So here's the tricky part. All right. The market will reward you for doing that. Right. So when I canceled my plan, I would win. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it turns around for me. So, so you know where this is going. It's man, this is horrible. So, and then one bad day, all it takes is one bad day. Everything you just completely lose everything. So I was like, you know what? You just can't mess with this, man. There's no way to cheat the code. You gotta go through it. You gotta accept the loss, and you gotta be able to sit your butt down and see that negative and be like, it's totally fine. This is part of the game. It is what's gonna happen. So to me, that was like the biggest thing because I struggled with that for a while, man. That what if I could have gotten that sooner, I would have been profitable way sooner.
Yeah, I know. So just to top up on what Ned was just saying, something I discovered like maybe 6 to 12 months ago, they have these third-party applications where you could actually block the brokerage website, like whatever your broker is, you could block it after a certain time of day. So what I would do is at 8:30 or 8:45 a.m., it would be blocked on all my devices, all my computers, phones, tablets, you name it. So that like whatever my max daily loss was, when I first woke up in the morning, that's what it was going to stay at that day. And let me tell you, this is something smart. So you can't go on tilt when simply you just can't.
Wow, that is incredible. That's a nice piece of advice. I wish I would have known that.
I'll give you the name of the. Well, I mean, if someone wants to comment below, I'll give them the name. I don't want to promote it too much, but if someone wants it, I'll give it to them.
That's very smart because I mean, your biggest enemy is yourself, like Ned said, and even if you do have a brokerage max loss, it's very easy just to call them up, be like, hey, not today, like. open it back up.
Yeah.
Let's try again. And that is the thing. That's part of that discipline.
Yeah.
And like you said something very important too, where like the market is going to reward that bad behavior, which is so dangerous. Like there are so many traders on like social media who will chase these pump plays. They'll make, really good money, and they think, all right, I've made it. This is easy. This is simple. And
Right.
soon enough, sooner than later, because they're not actually trading profitably, the market will slap them in the face, and then they lose everything.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
like one of the worst things about trading is that you could do everything wrong and make money. You can also do everything right and lose money. So you can't base your performance just on the dollar figure, because if you do that, it's very easy to get lost and
Yeah.
just get
Yeah.
screwed over.
True.
So yeah, like you said, like the biggest obstacle you had was dealing with the fact that you are going to lose. And a lot of
Right.
traders have that issue. Like a lot of traders believe that there's a way to accurately predict markets. Like this is something that I tried figuring out for the first 2 years of my trading. Like legit, I did everything I could just to avoid losing. I used 10 different indicators. I used, all this different math.
Bollinger Bands.
Bollinger Bands, you freaking name it, man. Look at my first YouTube videos, you'll see what I mean. But like my whole goal was to predict accurately without losing. And the minute that I was like, okay, you know what? This is not possible. Let me just accept the risk, but make sure that the numbers work in my favor. Everything else was kind of smooth from there. Obviously, the discipline is, the hardest obstacle for sure. But once you can kind of figure out that losses are just a part of the game, you have to learn to manage them. You have to learn to trade around them. You can't break down because you take a loss. You can't be overjoyed when you take a win, because if you do that, you'll be pissed off when you lose, and then that's how you fall into that spiral, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so yeah, just some very awesome points there from you.
So eventually, when you found your discipline, and I guess things are rolling, something clicks, and fast forward half a year later, and here you are, like Tony said earlier, making 35 grand in a matter of 2 weeks. Take us through those few weeks, and when the iron is hot, you got to strike. And yeah, take us through that hot streak and how you keep yourself calm and composed throughout that span. I know it's hard, not to celebrate too much.
Yeah, it was, for me, it was kind of I had two hot streak in my professional career so far. It's been short, but it's been two hot streak that I had. Previous to that, I had a hot streak where I was literally up over 50 grand in a month. So here's the interesting, because I never talk about it because it's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
Lay it down. Let's hear it.
Bro, you wouldn't believe it, man. I was overjoyed. I mean, like, unbelievable. Look at this, 50K in a month. It's like unbelievable. So here's what ended up happening. So this is when the discipline part really started maturing, because now I was partially playing the max daily loss with the broker, and then I was partially playing canceling it out and trying to work it out, right? So market kept rewarding me, and I'm just killing it. So here's what ended up happening. I ended up setting up my max loss a little bit higher so I can take more risk and make more money. So one of the days, it was a ticker that went exponential that day. And what happened was it hit my max loss. So I was like, okay, this is a low flow ticker. It has an opportunity to crash. The news don't make sense. I mean, everything, it's like I'm just telling myself all these nice stories. They're like, you gotta
go on
get back in.
You're digging
I
through
can
the
just see the
filings.
dollar signs in my head from there's a short getting squeezed.
Exactly.
That's a short
Man, I
getting
was like,
squeezed.
this sucker is up
Waiting for the
almost
offering.
$50. Man, I'm like, man, can you imagine if I grab even half of that, like, with a nice decent size? So I was like, you know what? Let me call the broker. I called the broker up. I'm like, okay, open me up, please. I made a mistake. Open me up. I want to retrade. So I got in. And then I was already at my max loss. And then Got in, boom, boom, boom. I placed a couple of more trades, and it went against me again. It just kept going parabolics. It just kept going up. And then it started, okay, 5 grand. I'm like, oh shoot, man, this is way more than I wanted to lose. I was like, you know what? All right, let's just try one more time. Let's just give it one more shot. All right. I guess we gotta see where this is going.
Yeah.
But I let me try it. So I placed the trade. Let me try one more time. Tried it one more time. Boom! Because of the size and the fact that I was already 5 grand, man, I hit almost 10 grand, almost 10 grand in loss. I'm like, man, unbelievable, unbelievable. I've never seen any kind of loss this big. You know? Yeah. I'm like, I gotta deal with this embarrassment. All right, take it easy, man. Let's just calm down. let's think this out. Let's think this out. How are we gonna do this? How are we gonna do this? Obviously, this thing is overextended. I'm just keep telling myself the same old lie. I'm not cutting it out. So finally, I kept trading and it just kept going. Every single placement that I've made, it just kept going against me, kept going against me. You guys wouldn't believe. I ended up losing the entire amount that I've already gained.
So you lost 50 grand on that trade?
In one day.
Oh, wow.
Damn. Now, were you just averaging up, adding?
Averaging and just keep adding it and just keep mushrooming and mushrooming and mushrooming. And it was like, oh man, yeah. So
that's
you can imagine. There was some tears. There was some tears.
Yeah. Wow. That's a humbling experience, though, you know.
What did I do to deserve this and all that?
And I'm sure, like when this happens to people, sometimes they have to quit because of financial reasons. Sometimes they want to quit because they're just so discouraged from an experience like that they end up like hating trading as a result. Obviously for you, this was a very important moment, but here you are a few months later or a year later. So how do you go from a moment like that to standing where you are today?
Man, okay, so what I had to do was like, okay, it was a lot of money that I lost. And it took a big hit in my personal business that I had outside of trading. So I was like, well, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? It was the moment. It was the deciding moment. Do I walk away from this? Trading is not for me. I just can't do it. The discipline is it's just not happening. So I came up to that. I was like, it might be time to call it quit. I've been doing it over a year and a half now. Everyone that I see on the internet, they're green in 3 months, they're profitable in 6 months and making millions over a year, so it's like,
why can't that be me?
Exactly. The gods of trading don't want men to succeed. So I was like, it could be that day. It could just be, it was a good experience. We tried our best. It might be it, man. This might be it. So then I was like, you know what? If I walk away from that, all the experience and knowledges that I had, that I've learned up to this point is gone. It's gone. I can't never get it back. And then I was like, you know what? This exact moment, I can use that exact moment right now. So when I am at my actual goal that I really want, I can say this was the defining moment for me. Even at this point, I was able to get up and make it happen. So I was like, you know what? The harder you fall, the quicker you have to try to get back up. And the harder sometimes you fall, the deeper you go in, your success probably even higher than that. So who knows? Let me just give this thing a try and let me go back to business, trying to earn this money back. And, I still have my business. I can still try to pull through and trying to get that money back. And then give it another try again, this time learning exactly what we did wrong. We know the discipline is the biggest problem. So that's what I did. I went back to work. In my business. And, it was tough. It was something that I thought, man, I was free from. I'm making a ton of money. I'm out of this business, but now I got to go back to my customers and I'm back, So it was embarrassing. It was heartbreaking. It was teary eyes the whole month, So, but I was like, you know what? Let's do this. It could be possible. I know it's possible to make money. It's just the problem was me. So I knew the problem was me. It had nothing to do with trading. It had nothing to do with the industry. It's just me. It's just my personal greed or lack of discipline that is causing me to lose all these money. So I was like, okay, so this is something that I have to do. So I went back to work and I, saved up again, restarted the account. And then from there, I started this time. I was like, if I go back to my broker and open this account, I'm gonna do something, like extreme. I'm gonna have to run, a whole marathon the whole day.
Yeah.
Something
They're gonna tell him,
extreme.
hey man, the only way that I'll reopen is if I send you a signed letter. If I send you a signed letter to reopen, then you can reopen it. Other than that, don't ignore my calls, ignore everything.
Man, exactly. So I was like, you know what? All right. So this is what's gonna happen. So I had to put it all on the line. I had to literally imagine myself in a position where it's like, what if I don't have any money? What if I'm out? What if, you know what I mean? This is it. And my business is not working anymore. So it could be a very serious situation. So because of that scary thought I created, it forced me to kind of like, you know what? Capital, I got to reserve my capital. Capital is the name of the game. So I have to reserve my capital. So because of that, I went, yeah. So I pulled down size completely from where I was. So I pulled down drastically. So I was like, let me go back to, very, very little shares and trying to go back again, doing this incremental, not trying to do, slam dunk. No, let's just go back and redo this the proper way. There's time, there's time. So I was like, there's time, we just need to sit back and relax and just, not focus on the dollar amount that I'm making. It's instead focusing on making good trades, because that's at the end is what's gonna, that's what's gonna be everything. So that's what I started doing, started focusing on good trades and taking my size a lot less until I can get back to those size again. So this is what ended up happening for a while, for months that I did that. And then, I was able to break through and break even and then get back into the game again.
So when people go through those experiences, it's almost like something happens in their brain, and it's like they think that there's no tomorrow. They're trading like it's the last time they'll ever trade, and they don't realize that they just need to step away from the system and realize that, hey, tomorrow is a brand new day, brand new setups, brand new stocks to trade. And I'm glad that you've come around.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you think you would have came back if you didn't have that business to fall back on? If you were just, like trading was your only way of income and you lost it all, do you think you would have came back?
I would say yes. I would say yes. For the simple reason that then I would have nowhere to go. I would have nothing else to do. So I have to figure out how to make this work. What I would probably end up doing is probably looking for other opportunities to make a little bit of money, and I would have to play with that little bit of money to try to make it happen. Fortunately, the business was allowing me to try to get myself back on my feet quicker. So that was fortunate event for me. But if it wasn't that, I was completely okay. I imagined myself with complete nothing, just going in and trying to make little money from outside sources to put in the account to make it happen. So I knew it was like, there's no more quitting. It's no going back. This is it. You've already invested at this point over a year and a half into it, and there's no going back there's no going back for except just moving forward and trying to make this happen. So that's when I started looking at it. I was like, you know what, there's no going back. I have to make this work.
And these days, I always send Ned a little message here and there saying like, hey man, don't forget to wire out a bit, or hey man, making sure the max daily is still there, So that's the thing about trading community, is that we have each other's backs and we all want to see each other grow and succeed. So, he doesn't have to go through this alone in the future. He's got the Trade Buddy fam. So.
Wow, that's a really important
point. That's the purpose.
Yeah, Brandon, you made a really important point. I would say this is probably one of the most important thing you can do in your trading career. People who's watching, who's new to trading, I would say this is one of the most important thing you can do. No, number one, you have to find a strategy. You can't find it on your own. You really need to know people who knows this thing, who's been in the game for years. You really need to know a strategy. All right. So strategy is extremely important. But what Brendan just said is really, really important for you to have a community where you know what's happening. People are, are encouraging you, and people are saying things that's going to remind you of why you're doing this thing, and the importance of watching your discipline, the importance of watching your strategy. So the community keeps you glued. I couldn't imagine if I was on my own. Okay, so now let's go back. Let's say a year into trading. If I was still on my own and taking these losses with nobody to kind of like pinpoint to see that there is some possibilities or whatever to bounce ideas off, I probably wouldn't be here. I definitely wouldn't be here. So I think that is extremely important. And we're not trying to sell you anything, but find a community that works for you. Trade Buddy works for me because there was no hype. It was real solid information. But you need a community. You definitely need a community. So I would say this is very important. What Brendan says is absolutely key. You can't ignore that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I agree with that. I'm kind of biased, but like trading is one of the loneliest things you could do, like hands down. It's you and yourself only. And if you are stuck in a battle with you and yourself only, with no one to talk to, you're gonna go down the deepest rabbit hole that you can imagine. Like, you need to have people who can help you battle yourself, like help you understand what you're doing wrong and tell you, hey, you're doing this wrong. You need to fix this or it's not gonna ever get better. If no one tells you that, you can keep fighting yourself forever. So having people around you in trading, it's the most important thing ever, because then you can mess up and they can say, hey, you're messing up. You got to fix this. You got to do this, this, or else you're never going to see success. And it's just plain simple. That's just kind of how you have to approach trading, right? Man, doing it like alone is very hard. And also one big bonus with having people around you is that you can see what they're looking at. Like, you can see what they're trading. You can see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. And then from that, you can kind of make your own way of trading, new way of looking at things. It's infinitely important,
Yeah, like you could see what other people are doing strategy wise, and then you could kind of tweak it to make it your own, to better fit it with your own personality. Like these days, I'm talking to Ned. I'm like, hey man, you have a lot more patience than I do with some of these plays. He's watching my strategies and then he's doing them better than me. So it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, now you're learning from that too, and you're holding on for a bit longer.
Yeah.
I've been noticing you're holding on for that longer all day fade, which is, that because of learning from Ned and others. So
yeah, I've noticed that as well. Yeah, Brendan is killing it, man. He's
yeah. I'm on a little streak myself, so maybe not up to the 35K, awesome. But it's a good streak.
Nice.
December's been nice.
Yeah, December's been
awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're watching this, you're looking at one of the most profitable, I would say most accurate trader ever, man. I mean, I've never seen anybody who does short trading as well as Brendan. He's extremely accurate when it comes to trading. So yeah. So you can learn from the best, man. Best that I've seen in the game. And I've researched a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people that's doing it. And yeah. Just a little shout, to Brendan.
I can't say this about myself because I am not accurate at all. But when I am accurert,
this guy's shooting 35%. But when he's accurate, he's making a lot more than most people. So
yeah, dude, the past month, the month of December, like my win rate is like 31%.
Wow!
But it is so far my most profitable month already.
Wow.
So I'm not that accurate, but when I am right, I can really make it work. And when I'm wrong, I take like nothing.
The long game right? is just so everyone's aware, the long game is like that, because you cut your losses super, super quick, but when you have the winner, it could go parabolic and blow up the short accounts,
Yeah.
And
exactly.
and then don't be fooled, right? You might have some short sellers that say, hey, look at me, I have a 93% win rate, but then all it takes is one to wipe out the month. So
Yeah,
So I
win
better.
rate is not everything, and that's
I'm
something that
hovering
you
in
just learn
the,
to understand, right?
I'm in that 80 to 85 zone of late,
Damn.
but
I could never
Wow.
do that. I could never do that. Well, just because like the way that my trading is, like it's so much just like you're digging through dirt trying to find that one that is actually squeezing. Lots of them,
True.
like you guys know, they pop up and they fade. They pop up and fade
Right.
and it just rinse and repeat. But the one that does, have that trap form and it kills shorts, those winners blow out the losers 10 times. So
Yeah,
that's just kind of how
very true.
trading is for me, right? And that may not be for
Yeah.
everyone, right? Like if you can't accept the fact that you're gonna have losses, doing something like me where I trade a lot of loss, it's difficult on the mind, right? Because you
Yeah.
have to you can do like everything right for days on end, and you're just losing day, losing day, losing day. Like my
True.
longest
True.
losing streak, I think this year I had 11 days in a row where just every day was just a small loss. Maybe some max losses
I would
here
be
and
so
there,
pissed. I would be
but
so
it's just
pissed.
the way it goes, right? It's just the way it goes for me. That's totally how it is.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah,
know the
that's
one that does
crazy.
win, it could go, from $3 to $40, and I'm gonna ride that whole move because I know how to,
You
and
know how
that's
to,
just how
yeah.
my strategy works.
And he
So,
teaches how to as well. He teaches how to.
so Ned, if you had one piece of advice for newer traders, what do you think the most important thing they could do to help them improve their trading career?
Wow. I would say the most important, it had to be for me. I mean, this was to me, it's like the key. Uh, it was a breaking point. It was the point that really made everything changes for me. I would say the most important piece of advice I would give somebody is watch your losses. Watch your losses and cut them out as quick as possible. Trading is a win and lose game. You have to learn to be a good loser, which is horrible. It's kind of an idea that you don't really, this is not traditional. We're taught to always win. It's something that we must do. If you're losing, it's something you're doing something wrong. In trading, it's completely opposite. It's just gonna be, you can't win the market 100% of the time. It just can't happen. It's impossible. Everyone who's trying to do it, they ended up losing everything. So you can't do it that way. You have to learn to be a good loser, meaning know what you're okay with losing. Know when you're getting into a trade how much you're willing to lose right away before you even get into the trade. You already know exactly what you're willing to lose. And when that happens, cut your loss quick. Don't wait. Don't do nothing because it's capital observation. You have to learn to reserve your capital because that's what's gonna keep you to the next day and to the next day because there's always another day. No one day is gonna make your career. No one day. You're not gonna make $1 million in one day. Forget it. It's not gonna happen. So get that out of your mind. The most important thing I can tell you is cut your loss and learn how to be how to be a good loser.
Yeah.
I had that posted on my computer a while ago, like no one trade will make or break your career. And every now and then, like you have to actually look at that post and let it sink in.
Yeah,
Well, I
really
mean,
do.
you can make a modification to that because one trade can break your career, but one
Yeah.
trade will not make your career, right?
Absolutely.
That's the danger. That's the dangerous part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a guarantee. One trade, you can be gone. Yeah.
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 And one trade can make your week, or in some cases, in rare cases, make your month. Like for a long bias trader like Tony, one trade can make his month.
AMC was great.
Yeah.
AMC was awesome.
Yeah.
Now, like one thing that I wanted to just add on to what Ned said is that, not only like watch your losses, you don't want to be too quick to cut losses, right? Like obviously there is some finesse to it. You can't just be afraid of seeing any red and just say, okay, done cutting it. Like you have to make sure that you look at your account and you calculate like how much you can risk. Usually a good number that people throw around is like whenever you're taking a trade, you want your max loss to be 2% of your whole account size, because if you can do that, yeah, you'll take losses, but it's like not going to just blow up in 4 trades, right? It's going to be a slow burn, and hopefully you can turn it around before you burn everything out, right? So managing losses is super, super important, and you have to accept the fact that no matter what, you're going to have them, and you have to learn to deal with them. So it's a critical part of trading for sure. Now, one last fun question for you before we wrap things up. In terms of strategies, if you could only trade one strategy for the rest of your life, what would that strategy be, and how would you name it?
I'm gonna give in the secret right now.
Lay out the sauce.
Man, if I were to trade one strategy, it would be pre-market VWAP crack. So what I mean by that is I would sit as early as possible, and I would watch the runners goes up, just go up, and then when it hits the ceiling and it started fading, I just keep watching. And there's that VWAP line. The moment that it cracked the VWAP line, now I'm interested. Okay, so when it cracked the VWAP line, now I'm interested. So now what I'm looking for is the next time around that is coming back to VWAP. Then I started placing my orders around VWAP just a little bit above, and I would mix in the my daily gain strategy of adding, preparing your orders ahead of time and adding. So that's what I would do. And then this is the most accurate strategy for me, because the more that it cracks through the VWAP, the more that it fades down from the VWAP. Yeah, fishing orders, exactly. Yeah, so the more that it fades from the VWAP, it's just, for me, it's just a beauty. I can go all in, depends on how far did I see that it goes from VWAP. Usually the further down that I notice that the further down it goes from VWAP, when it's trying to go back up, it's just it loses a lot of confidence.
There's a lot of bag holders trying to get out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of baggies trying to get out, lots of short sellers piling in.
Pops get sold, yeah. Pops get sold.
So I would definitely stick with that one, because that one has made me pretty good money. And and it's pretty easy for me to watch my losses on that one, because it's like, okay, just next level up from VWAP, just cut my loss. Okay, it's not the day. It's just gonna run up.
Like if it cracks through, then you're done. Yeah.
It's done. Yeah. You already know it's gonna run up, so just get out and
now cool. I can imagine your max loss is probably somewhere the break over high of day, right? Let me just guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's where I'm getting in, right? So
that's where he's getting
I love that you said that whole thing, because if you're watching this podcast or listening it, and you're like part of the room, like, lots of webinars I do, we talk about like this same exact strategy. But for longs, what you want to do is you want to go long once that pre-market high breaks, because there's short sellers like Ned, like my daily gains, who are going to be sizing in to those VR projections, right? And if it breaks out through them, all the ones who didn't stop out are now getting squeezed. So it's a perfect way to wrap things up, right? And I love that you said, like how you're entering, because that's exactly what I say in the webinars.
Yeah.
You have like to kind of
the other day. Wow.
Yeah.
That was if 17 held, it was lights out for me, right?
Yeah. You have to have this skill, like, to know when other people are trading, because then off that you can kind of make your own theses about the trade. Like you said, whenever it has a huge drop down below VWAP, you know that the longer it drops down, the more likelihood of having lots of bag holders who are going to sell into the pop, and that will just make your trade even better. So
even better.
I love that answer though. Love that answer, because lots of those pre-market gainers, they all do fade, but the few that don't are really good longs.
Yeah.
So man, I just want to say that was a very, very awesome podcast episode. I'm so glad that you finally had come on, and we're gonna have to do another one for sure. Maybe definitely. In 6 months, whenever we can, because that was a good experience talking to you finally. Very happy for how far you have come so far, and looking forward to seeing how much further you can go. Safe travels. Enjoy your little trip that you're taking, and looking forward to seeing you back in the room whenever you're trading again.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you guys. And I appreciate it. Appreciate to be here. It's I'm really grateful for the community. If it wasn't for the community, I wouldn't be here. So I have a lot to be thankful for. So yeah, I'm glad I could share my experience and a little bit of knowledge that I've gained so far, and so you guys can go to the next level with it, because we're all trying to reach our goal and trying to be as much as successful as we possibly can. So trading is no competition really. It's a personal thing, So we you don't mind. There's no problem sharing knowledge, and we're all trying to go to the same place. You know what I mean? And we all think of trading differently. I can't, even though I study my daily gains to the letter, I'm never going to trade exactly like him, because I'm personally individual. So, it's just his strategy with my own personality. So that's what's going to happen. So you guys have to look at that and think about that. And it's no problem. A community is great for you. A community will share the knowledge, will share the experience, and it's just going to help you get to the next level. For those that are already into trading, this you can help somebody else out. This is why the whole podcast is here, and this is why I'm here. And I'm really happy about that, and to share the knowledge with the community. Thank you guys so much for inviting me. Yeah.
Also wanted to say thanks, and it was a real pleasure to finally speak to you in person. I know we've been chatting quite a bit there in the Slack in the Trade Buddy community. So really nice to finally do this, and not sure if you'll be able to, if you want to answer that one, but if anyone ever wanted to reach out to you, where might they be able to find you?
Oh yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Libra_Ned. I got a little bit of a YouTube channel, just a couple of videos I'll put up there about success and business in general. I want to do a little bit more things in trading, but you guys can subscribe to that. That'll be great. But mainly Instagram, Libra_Ned. You can find me there. You can send me a message or whatever. So love to talk to you guys. Or the best way to reach me, join Trade Buddy.
That's it.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll drop links down below on your Instagram and your YouTube. Just send me a link to your YouTube, and I'll happily plug it in the description. Sure. And of course, the best way, like he said, the best way, join Trade Buddy and talk to him directly every single morning. So, man, once again, thank you so much for taking your time. And hopefully that you had fun. And if you're listening, hopefully you had fun listening to this podcast. If you have any questions or any recommendations for future guests, feel free to drop a comment down in the YouTube, or just send me an email, tony@tradebuddy.net. But with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. Brendan, have a great weekend. Have a great Sunday. And Ned, enjoy your travels, and I'll talk to you again soon. All right. Guys.